If you go back telling people that's on the top.
I want to say thank you for the committee for inviting me to come out here. It takes a lot of courage to put together an event like this. There's always a lot of arguments, fights, and a lot of drama, right? But by the end, God always shows up. And I don't care what the Angela thinks, this was amazing in every way. I did picture her like being really tall. So when I went to registration, I'm looking around and all the tall people, I'm like, well, that must be her. And then when they said her, and I looked all the way down, I'm like, damn. She talks like a giant, though. If you're a newcomer, I'm gonna throw out some numbers right now that I'm making up. But if you talk to people with a lot of clean time, they're gonna tell you that they're kind of right. If you're here and you're a newcomer, or if you're here and you're not doing any service work, I'm going to tell you that the people that do service work, usually you'll see them 30 years later, still clean. Doing service work, right, gets you out of yourself. And in early recovery, I did not know that, right? And the whole thing about service work is, right, that it makes you come out of yourself. It makes you part of something bigger than you, right? And I am going to suggest to everybody here that's not doing service, right? If you want to be part of something bigger than you, do some service work. And there's a lot of service work. A lot of you might not be able to come up here. There was a time where I didn't think I would ever, hit a stage. But you don't know. But maybe you can go to like H&I. Maybe you can go to a jail. Your story needs to be heard somewhere. And I've been talking to a few people today about, about giving purpose to pain. Before I got clean, I had a lot of pain. And I didn't know what to do with the pain. So what I did was I harmed a lot of people myself, and I used a lot. Because I didn't know what to do with the pain. See, like when I felt pain in the past, I always had to do something. I could never just sit still with pain. I didn't know why the pain was there, to be honest with you. I didn't know why I was so different than everybody I knew. When I got clean, I remember that I couldn't relate to you people in any way. Like I got clean and I had 37 felonies when I quit using, right? I had just gotten out of prison, completed a 6-year sentence, right? A year in solitary, right? And when I got out of prison the last time, I promised myself that if I ever go back, I'm gonna die before I go back. Because, there's a point, newcomer, that it seems fun in the beginning, but you're gonna reach a point, right, where it stops filling the void.
That's right.
Like you use it, and on the third and the fourth day, it just stops filling the void. Right? And then the next thing that comes after the void isn't filled anymore, what the chemical is, suicide attempts. And I didn't know why, I just couldn't stop. See, when I came into recovery, right, I thought that my only problem was using crack cocaine. See, I'm Dominican, right? And we have a God-given right to drink. When I started this process, I did not look at alcohol as a drug. So newcomer, I want you to understand something. Alcohol is a drug, hands down. Because it's not like, if I could have a beer, just one beer, right, and not sit and not smoke crack, I might have not stopped. But for me, it's impossible. Sooner or later, crack comes, right? So it paves the way always, the alcohol, right? So when I found out that alcohol was a drug, I was able to put other things down, right? And then I was able to start learning what was wrong with me. I didn't know when I got clean what was wrong with me. So when I got clean, they brought me back, way back, right? Because I thought way back it had nothing to do with today. Because people used to tell me, that's in the past, why don't you just leave it in the past? It already happened. It doesn't affect you today. It's cool. It already happened. Just let it go already. Let it go. I remember my sister told me that. My stepsister. Just let it go. Forget it happened. So that's okay. But then, when you're quiet with yourself and something starts like stirring up inside of you and the void starts coming back and you start wondering what's wrong with me and you start feeling lost and you can't like feel in company anywhere you go, what's wrong? And when I started doing step work for the first time, I started to learn what was wrong. See, when I came into recovery, I was in denial about everything. Like everything, right? Like I could not see how sick I was when I quit using. Now, I don't know a lot of you, right, might have quit using with money. Right? You a bad ass if you can quit using with money. I'm serious. If you quit using, you still had a car, I applaud you. Like, serious. Because that's not my story. I didn't stop until I didn't have any more. But the thing is, see, I'm a hustler. Hustlers don't ever stop because you always find some. Always. Winter storm in Massachusetts on a Tuesday, on the 29th of any month, at 4 in the morning, no money, you just finished rezzing everything, trying to go into your fingernails to see if you lost something, right? And this bright idea comes into your head, man, maybe I can get one more. 5 days later, you're still using. You gotta be a bad motherfucker to get out of that. Like, I'm serious, right? So check this out. So I wouldn't stop till I was locked up. That's when I would stop. I remember my last run in Massachusetts, right? I was in Mattapan Square. And I remember that 4 days before, I had went on a run where I went and I wanted somebody to kill me. Because I tried to kill myself a lot and I felt I was a failure. I couldn't even do that right. So I went, I said, well, if I rob a bunch of dudes, one of them might kill me. And I did about like 27 robberies, right? From Mattapan to W Street, right? And then used all the drug, and 3 days later I went back out to rob the same street. And I remember I said, well, let me rest just a little bit, and I closed my eyes and I woke up the next day at 10 o'clock, and I'm like, damn, David. And like when you go on these runs, I remember, right, I used to always wake up with this deep desire to die. Because I don't know about you, but towards the end, I got tired of always failing. I don't know if you can identify with this, like always failing, like you do good for a little while, right? Like the month, the 2 months, and everybody starts forgiving you, right? And for some reason, like, I'm sorry, and you do your best just to fail again. And it got so bad for me, right, that I'm an only child. I got 2 stepsisters, right? But it got so bad that my mom, I destroyed her. Then on February 3rd, 2002, I went to a store in Charlestown, Massachusetts. I bought a box of decal rat poison. And I went home, to her house. And when you smoking crack, it's hard to have a house. Right, let's keep it real. My house is the couch, right? So when I got to the door, I knocked and she opened, right? And I had a paper bag in my hand. And she looked at me, she knew. And she said, I hope it works. And I walked into her room and I started crying, right? And I ate a box of decon rat poison. I remember the date because the Patriots, boom, won the Super Bowl. Watch your mouth. So check this out. I remember that I woke up around midnight and I heard people celebrating, and I said to myself, wow, they must have won before I died. Because they had never won, right? And for 2 days I was in that bed and my mom didn't call an ambulance. You know how bad it gets when your own mom and your only child doesn't call you, doesn't like try to save your life, man? That's drug abuse. That's the disease. A lot of you might have not gotten there yet. But notice how I said yet. I highly doubt anyone can use for any significant amount of time and not get there sooner or later. When I got clean, I realized what was wrong, guys. You know, like a lot of you that are here, I hope you're giving yourself the opportunity of doing step work. Okay? I hope you're doing step work because the only way you're going to figure out what's wrong, right, is by doing step work.
All right.
And I've talked to a lot of people because I work in the field, right? And a lot of people say step work doesn't work for me. And I just stay looking at them like, well, what does? What works for you? Because everything else you've been trying hasn't been working, right? And there was a time I was just like that. Like step work makes no sense. Newcomer, I'm gonna really tell you, see, I want you to understand that if you're having a hard time staying clean, it's because recovery does not make sense. It just doesn't. Like, you know what makes sense? If we were handing out $100 bills, right, at the entrance here, you know how many people would be in here? They'd be standing room only. But because we're offering a new way of life that doesn't make sense to people, they won't come. And for me, for many years, it didn't make sense. I didn't understand how is it that I sit around a bunch of people and this is going to help me in any way. I didn't know that. How is step work going to help me? I used to hear people in 1997 when I got out of prison the first time talk about getting on their knees, right? And for me, that's a form of weakness. Real men don't get on their knees. You understand? You don't show no weakness. Come on, man, right? So I didn't understand how getting on my knees would help me. But for some reason, I kept hearing people saying that, right? And I didn't get it. So I'm going to tell you like this, right? If you're here this week and the whole weekend, you've been hearing a bunch of stuff, and you don't think there's some stuff that's going to help you in any way, I can guarantee you one day, you are going to remember something you heard at this convention. And that might be the something that saves your life. Because I heard this in 1997, it didn't make sense. And logically, I relapsed again. All right? And I had 4 years and 3 months. And at the time, I thought I was really cool. Because there was a time when I thought that clean time equated to recovery. I used to think that, right? So if you got clean time, you're not doing no step work, no service, no having fun, you don't have a sponsor, right? You're just attending meeting. You're just absent right now. You understand? You're just waiting for the first excuse to pick up again. You understand? And that's what happened to me. I found the first excuse, I went out and I picked up. And for 6 years, I went back out. For 6 years, right? And in them 6 years, right, I smoked 2 houses, 3 cars, had a child that I never was a father to, destroyed my mother, destroyed my father, and destroyed a lot of women. Okay? And did 2 more years in prison. Because clean time does not equate to recovery. Please don't get that twisted. When I came back, I remember April 5th, 2003, I found myself in Minnesota. And that's kind of like a funny story, because I'm from Boston, right? And after I tried to kill myself with the rock poison, it didn't work. My mom comes with this bright idea. She says, listen, your Aunt Vivian just told me that there's no drugs in Minnesota. And you know, like at the time, I suck at geography, right? I didn't even know what Minnesota was. I'm like, Dad, if I don't know where the place is, there might not be no drugs. So I went to Minnesota, but I stopped in New York, and I spent 6 months in New York. I did a pit stop in New York, and I dated a car, like for 6 months. How do you date a car? Check this out, right? Yo, this is a true story, man. I'm serious. Like, a lot of you are as sick as me, but a lot of you might be in some denial. Like my sponsor helped me realize I dated a car, right? And this is what happened, right? I went to New York, stopped to spend the night, so then the next day we can go to Minnesota, my mom and I, right? And I remember this woman in a Lexus LX 470, right, drives by, and she stays looking at me, right? And I said, ooh, wait a second. That's like a $90,000 vehicle. I didn't look at the woman. I saw a vehicle, and I told the guys that I was with, I said, listen, within a week, I'm gonna be driving that vehicle. So I started, like 3 days later, I was hitting on her, right? And I was driving the vehicle to Boston, everywhere, like the whole dressing up the outside thing. You know what that feels like? You know, like putting on these nice clothes and driving the nice cars and jewelry, because I want you to think I'm somebody that I know deep down inside that I'm not. Because I need external validation. Because inside I feel like a piece of garbage. I know I'm a piece of garbage, but I don't want you to know I'm a piece of garbage. So if I got a nice car, you might think I'm somebody. So 6 months later, she totals the car. And she calls me. She said, Dan, can you come get me? I just totaled the car, blah, blah. I said, okay, I'll be right there. So I called my mom. I said, Mom, let's go. And we went to Minnesota. I didn't talk to her again. So when I told my sponsor that story, he said, hey, man, you dated a car. And he was right. So when I got to Minnesota, because there's no drugs, right? I stopped and I bought me like a 6-pack of beer. There's no drugs, right? 3 months later, I get lost. I left the club and I get lost, right? Because, there was no like GPS and nothing, and I had never been to Minnesota, and, so I left the club like about 2 in the morning, and I picked up this Boricua chick, right? And we went to her house and we kicked it, right? The next day, I leave her house 7 in the morning, and I gotta make it back to Bloomington, Minnesota, right? But I didn't know how to get there. So I stopped on this place called Franklin in Chicago, right? 3 days later, I was still trying to get to Bloomington. And I remember that during this whole process, my mom had borrowed me a chain that I gave her as a present, right? And I remember that I took the chain out to give it to this dude for a 50. And as I was giving it to him, I said to myself, when I get this, I'm gonna take this in one hit so my heart can explode. I don't know if anyone can identify with what I'm talking about here, where you used to die, where you're hoping that your heart explodes. You're praying to get arrested. That's sick. And the guy dummied me up, man. And I'm like, damn, man. You know how many people I've robbed in my life, man? I strong armed dudes in prison. I thought I was a hustler, man. I just got hustled in Minneapolis. Yo, that was really humbling, right? When I tried to kill myself for the last time, I made it to this hostage that I was holding. You know, because, you know, guys and women, when you're using, right, you know, you're really not in relationships. You're just holding hostages. You know, you gotta be honest with yourself. You're holding hostages. Because anybody that dates a guy like me in active addiction is a hostage. So I made it to my hostage's house, right? And she gave me a pill so I can come down. I saw where she had them, and I took 17 pounds of Percocets and half a liter of vodka. And I wrote a suicide letter apologizing to my family. See, because, you know, we're not bad people, guys. I really want you to understand this. I don't care what you think about yourself. You are not a bad person. See, I've learned something in recovery that has given me like a lot of hope and has allowed me the opportunity to help other people, right? I know, whether you want to understand this or not, that this room is full of superheroes. I tell everybody this. Like, listen, who goes to hell makes it out to help others. Who learns how to tell the truth through suffering? Who cares about people they don't like? Let's keep it real. How many people you don't like that as soon as you hear that relapse, you want to help them? That's superhero shit. I was telling somebody that today, man, like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man can't help another addict. They can like stop a train, they can do shit like that, but they can't help an addict like we can.
All right.
Listen, I want you, when you leave here, just remember at least this: you are a bad motherfucker, no matter how sad you feel. And then tried to kill myself, didn't work. I'm about to swear, guys. I woke up 2 days later again, and I looked up into the ceiling and I said, fuck you, God, you fucking asshole. Because I thought it was God's fault. Like, why the fuck do you keep waking me up to this shit? All I wanted to do was die. Okay, again, I don't know if anybody's ever been there. A week later, I'm in a bed in Edina, Minnesota, and I'm contemplating suicide again. And I remember that I was watching TV. I had my suicide letter in front of me. I turned it around, I put April 12, 2003, right? And I'm looking at the letter, what should I write now? How can I kill myself now, right? And a program comes on TV about Sigmund Freud. Anybody know who Sigmund Freud is? Yeah. So when I was incarcerated, right, I used to read a lot of books on psychology. Because I thought that if I became really intelligent, right, that I could stop using, or I could use intelligently. Because people always say when you make a mistake, man, you're stupid. Man, why'd you do that? That was stupid. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I use because I'm stupid. If I get smart, I'll stop using. So I read a lot of books, and every psychology book that I read, Sigmund Freud is in the first couple of pages as the father of psychology. Psychology, study of human behavior. If I learn about human behavior, then I'll figure out why I'm so messed up. And they put a program on TV about Sigmund Freud, and I thought this man had everything a human being could aspire to: property, money, prestige. And in this program it said Sigmund Freud was a drug addict. Okay. I said, damn. And that's when it hit me. Guys, you know why we struggle really hard, man? Because we've been sold a lot of misinformation about what it's meant, what happiness is. And the people we listened to, that they gave us this information, were really messed up people. They didn't even know what happiness was. They were trying to teach us what happiness was. You understand? I come from a lot of disease in my life, in my childhood. A lot of like misinformation. Like being black in Boston in the 60s and the 70s, all right, was rough. Caucasians didn't like me because I was black. Puerto Ricans didn't like me because I was Dominican. African Americans or blacks didn't like me because I was Latino. Everywhere I went, I got bullied. So at a very young age, society is telling me, David, you're a piece of garbage. You have no right to be here. Nobody likes you. My grandmother didn't like me because I was dark-skinned. My father used to say, I may be black, but I'm not stupid. Guys, we received a lot of misinformation, and we've been trying to find happiness with misinformation, and that's the void. That's the void that I had a lot of problems with. You understand? I'm trying to be happy, getting money, property, and prestige, and it doesn't work, not even for the people that got it. We come into recovery, same thing. You come into recovery, right, and a lot of people, you want money, property, and prestige, and you go after it, and you stop coming to meetings, or you stop sponsoring people, or you become too busy to go to a convention because you want money, property, and prestige, not understanding that your whole life, that's what you've been looking for. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And when I realized that, then I remembered what I heard in 1997. And I took a risk for the first time in my life. I remembered something that I heard in 1997. Guys, if you're having a hard time with the God word, I'm going to tell you some controversial shit right now. It might rub some people the wrong way. To be honest with you, if I rub you the wrong way with anything I say, you better call your sponsor. Because I learned in recovery early on, man, I don't care about your feelings. It's not my job. My job is to tell you my truth. All right? And my truth is that in early recovery, I did not believe in God. I got on my knees on April 12, 2003, and I said, God, I don't believe in you. But I've heard that people that get on their knees stay clean. If you exist, I need you to help me. And I'm going to dedicate my life to helping people. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I said that. But it's what I said. On my knees. And guys, for the next 70 days, I went to treatment and everything, and for the next 70 days, I wanted to kill myself. Still. And I kept getting on my knees, though. In the morning, I would get on my knees, and I'd say the same thing. God, I don't believe in you, but I heard the people that get on their knees stay clean. If you exist, help me, and I'm going to dedicate my life to helping people. And then at night, I'd say, God, thank you, man, for helping me stay clean today. I don't know why I said it. I just know I said it. And for the first time in my life, I started doing something consistently. Not because I believed in God. I did it because I was scared. I did it because I was scared. So newcomer or anybody having an issue with the God word, right? I need you to understand. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to believe in God to stay clean. That's bullshit. And if that bothers you, if an old timer, tries to pick your God for you, that old timer better do something and start working steps again. Because nobody can pick your version of God. Nobody. That's for you to find. You know how many times people try to find my version of God for me? Go to the front, accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And I go to the front and the pastor would touch my head and I go, yes, and I try to act out like everybody and I leave the place and get into a stolen car and go home. But I will tell you something. If you stay clean, if you stop thinking you know some shit, because that's usually the reason people relapse. You start knowing shit. You understand? Like at 23 years, I still don't know shit. You understand? Like I really don't know shit. Like when I'm going to do something, right, I call 5 people at 23 years clean. And whatever they tell me is what I do. And as long as I do that, I'm not going to pick up. Because I don't know shit today, even at 23 years clean. It's funny to see a motherfucker with 30 days clean and shit knowing stuff. You you do know something. You know where to find good drugs. You know who's giving 1 out for 5. You know how to hurt them. You know that kind of stuff. But do you know how to stay clean? Do you know how to stop lying? Do you know what the word integrity is? If you don't do step work, you're not going to learn. And that's what happened. I got clean, and I kept getting on my knees, and sooner or later, little by little, God started doing things for me. I didn't know it at the time. See, I want everyone to understand, whether you believe in God or not, God has done some stuff for you. You just don't know it yet.
All right.
Like I got shot, guys, I got shot in the head. I was trying to take a gun from this dude. He went up to buy some drugs, right? And I was trying to stab the dude, to take his gun and his drugs. And we were fighting for the gun, right? And I'm trying to stab the dude, right? And every time I go up, the knife closes. 8 times I go up, the knife closes, right? And the dude shoots me in the head. And I'm holding the gun like this. The bullet got stuck on my finger. See, at the time, I thought it was luck. Damn, what a coincidence, huh? Recovery taught me, man, that there's no such thing as luck, man. Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous, guys. But if you don't do step work, you're never gonna figure that shit out. You understand? So what happened to me, I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm not gonna tell you that when I got clean, I wanted to do step work. It didn't make sense. See, God has a sense of humor. And a lot of people with clean time are gonna tell you, God has a sense of humor, right? Like, for real. Like, I heard somebody on Friday talking about some of the things God did, right? And it was God. At the time, you might not know that. But do you want to know why I work steps? Because steps didn't make sense to me. I didn't want to work them, right? But one day, see, I'm a womanizer, guys. And when you work steps, you're going to figure out a lot of character defects that you've got. And you're going to get comfortable talking about them, see, because you're going to use your character defects. You're going to overcome them by helping people with them, right? So I'm a womanizer. I am a womanizer, okay? So what happened was right there, I go to meetings, but I'm not going to the meetings where all the women are. And I went to this meeting, right, and there was this lady, she was sharing, she had 16 years clean, right? And she shares and she mesmerized me. You know, like, damn, that seems like a really good higher power for me. like she has 2 cars, she has good credit, she has her own house, she only has 1 son, and she has a dog, man. And yo, at 120 days clean, that seems really cool, right? So check this out. So I go up to her and I say, hey, now, can I take you out to a movie one day? You know, like, my broke ass didn't take anybody anywhere. But she didn't know that. I don't think I knew that, to be honest with you, at the time. And she looks at me, she says, oh, you wanna fuck me? See, Latino women don't do that. So it scared me. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, well, that's not why I'm asking, but it's not a bad idea. So what she did was she said, do you even have a sponsor? And because I like to lie, I almost lied, but I stuttered. Because recovery takes away your hustle, right? And so she grabbed me by the hand and she went and picked this dude named Mark. She says, hey, sponsor him. And get his number and come back and talk to me. So I got his number, I went back to talk to her. She says, listen, man, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna work with Mark, and when you get to step 6, I'm gonna have sex with you.
Good luck with that.
It's a true story.
Yo, listen, I repeat, I'm telling you the truth. I know it sounds outlandish and shit, but it's the truth. And I repeat, see, God knows, my version of God knows what inspires me. So I started working steps at night. Guys, 3 days later, I'm on step 4. Guys, this is the hit. Ready? This is the hit. I didn't understand steps. I didn't know how they would work.
All right.
But I took a risk. And I remember I was writing about my uncle on step 4, right? And see, in the Latino community, as a man, you're not supposed to cry. And I think in the American and the black community too, you're not supposed to cry if you're a man. That shows a sign of weakness, right? And every time you cry, people tell you, men don't cry. I'm gonna give you something to cry. But so they give you this information that you're not supposed to cry, right? And I would never cry. I was that kind of dude that if I wanted to cry, I go, right? To stop myself from crying. But on this day, a tear came down. And for the first time in my life, 35 years old, I cried. And I didn't try to stop it. And what happened was, like I said, I had an epiphany. Because this is what step work does, guys. It gives you an epiphany. You start to learn shit about yourself that you didn't know existed. And I grabbed the phone and I called. I said, listen, man, I understand that you said we're going to have sex and all that, but I'm going to tell you like this, right? I can't, if you want to wait, it's cool. But I'm not going to do this for sex. And I told her, I've been getting sex my whole life and I'm sick as fuck. I said, there's something here. And she said to me, that was the point, David. And she said to me something I had never heard in my life. She said, David, when you get to step 6, I'm still going to have sex with you, right? And she said, but you know something, David? You're going to realize after you and I have sex that you don't even like a woman like me. And yo, guys, exactly how she said it, it happened that same way. When I had sex with her, it was like, damn, the fuck did I just do? I realized she's a fucked up lady, man. No wonder she was single hitting on a new drummer. Guys, and that's where it started. That's where it started. See, I'm gonna tell you like this, right? If you complete your steps, right, one thing's gonna happen, right? You're gonna get the miracle of sponsorship. Miracle of sponsorship, right, helps you see God. I saw God here yesterday. A person, don't mind me, I gotta do something because I thought I was gonna embarrass her. Is that okay? Holly, how you doing? She hates that when I do that. She's my business partner. Check this out, man. This is God. I saw her, she came to one of my groups. And I did what I was taught in early recovery. See, when I got clean, I didn't know what I was going to do. Because all I knew how to do was hustle. And they said to me, why do you want to hustle? I said, because I don't have any skills. All I know how to do is sell drugs and rob people. And I got 37 felonies. Who's going to hire me, right? And they said to me, well, why don't you use your hustle to help people? And that made no sense to me. How is helping people going to put some money in my pocket, right? Check this out. I didn't know that when you help people and you see what happens after you help a person, that's how you see God. I saw her almost 3 years ago. Wheelchair. And big denial. And I did what I do. I fucked her up. Right? With the truth. And I was able to see her speak at her first convention yesterday. Jason. I met Jason. He was a recluse. He didn't talk to nobody. He'd go to meetings, man. He'd sit in the back hiding and he was like a mouse. And like God when you work for God, right? When you have a God of your understanding in your life, what starts to happen, right? God starts doing things for you, right? And you don't even know you're doing them, right? And you start helping people, and you start like being a difference maker in the lives of people, you know? And you start working for the God of your understanding, right? And I hustled him. It's like I used to hustle people to sell them crack, fake crack. Like I was an expert sheetrock salesman. I told you, man, you leave at 4 in the morning, you ain't got no money, you sell sheetrock. That's how you make money, right? So they taught me, why don't you use that same skill to help people? And that's what I did to Jason, and I did that with everybody. A lot of people in Minnesota call me a bully. I am a bully. I'm gonna bully you into recovery. I'm gonna tell you whatever I gotta tell you to inspire you to stay clean so I can see God through you in the future, I'm going to do it. And that's why he's here. And I see God, when he got his 13 years, I'm like, damn, man, you see a person gets up and you were part of that process. That's how I see God today, man. See, a lot of people, I used to believe that I was going to see God through a burning bush like Moses. And I'm going to be honest with you. If I see a bush burning and talking to me, right? I'm running to the sidewalk. Something's definitely wrong. I'll look at what I was drinking to see if I had acid inside of it, right? Because I used to think that the way you see God is angels come down and they have dinner with you like they do with Abraham. And it doesn't happen that way. I see God through the faces looking at me up here right now. Got a little time left, right? I'm going to tell you something. First, I'm going to tell you what has happened with my 37 felonies. I remember when I got clean, I had 3 warrants. I was supposed to go back to prison. And I did go to prison in 2010. I went to prison. I got clean in 2003. But you know what God does? I went to prison and I was able to leave because I started a program, because of that, to help people that are in prison get out and stay out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, check this out. I got hustled into writing a book. So I'm gonna publish off with 37 felonies. My mom didn't try to stop me from killing myself. And this is a sore spot because my mom's dying. She has dementia. But you wanna know what she did in 2021? She sold everything she had and she gave me the money. She says, here, take care of me. I'm a crackhead, you guys. Come on now. I'm a crackhead. See, recovery is a miracle. Sometimes I just sit back and I'll just think about my life. And God sends me messages. Last night, man, there's somebody in here right there. There's about 2 people in here that shared something yesterday, right? Because I was feeling sorry for myself because I'm going through some financial hardships, right? And I just recently got divorced and married. I'm gonna tell you like this, listen, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not gonna paint the picture that I'm perfect. I'm fucked up, guys. I met this woman right May 1st, and we got married May 21st. This year. 3 weeks. And it makes sense to me. I called 5 people and I hustled them and they believed me. They said, yeah, go ahead, do it, right? But I've been going through some financial hardships, right? And last night I was at the restaurant and I didn't have enough money. And I didn't want to tell the 2 people that were with me. Like I had $17 of what I wanted. So I was freaking out, right? And I'm getting out of it. Because that's one thing about recovery, right? Recovery, you have using broke and you got recovery broke. Using broke, it gets hard to rub 2 nickels together. See, recovery broke, you got a job and maybe a little bit of credit and people trust you and they hook you up. So I called because I got recovery broke and somebody sent me some money. But I remember I was feeling sorry for myself, right? And I left the restaurant, right? And as I was walking back with the money, I met this woman yesterday that shared. No, I'm married. So check this out. I met this woman, right, and she started sharing about how she lost her son and her father and her husband. And I was like, and she was still smiling. And then I met this dude yesterday that's in a wheelchair, man. He was sharing with Holly, right? And he was laughing, man, and he's in a wheelchair. And I thought to myself, you ungrateful fucking asshole, David. What is wrong with you? Did you forget? Did you forget, David, that 23 years ago, you tried to kill yourself? And 23 years later, you got invited to speak at a convention in Texas. The fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, listen, you're taking care of your mother, David. Like, as bad as I'm doing it, because I wish you were with me. I wish my mother were not in a place. I wish my mom dies, me holding her hand. But I can't. I ain't got it like that one. I ain't got it like that. But at least I go visit her, and she remembers me, and she says, she remembers my recovery. David, that's a blessing. My mother presented me with my 20-year medallion. But it's easy to forget where we come from. It's easy to start remembering what we don't got, and I can forget the blessings that have been bestowed upon me. So I need a power greater than me to remind me. And I'm going to throw a couple of things at you real quick. Listen, I'm going to throw step one, what step one means to me. This might offend a couple of them here. What step one means to me, powerless and unmanageability. Powerless to me means that if I use any Mood-Ultra chemical, there's a possibility to win. I don't know when in the future, but I could find myself under a bridge giving a dude oral sex for $20 that hasn't taken a shower in 2 weeks. I used to not understand that. I understand it today. That's called progression. If you think you're immune to the horrors of addiction, you got another run again. Step two. People keep thinking step two has something to do with God. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like this is the one that's gonna offend some people. For me, a power greater than you is not God. The reason being I say that because I believed in God for a long time, and then I didn't. And I meet a lot of people that believe in God for 10 days clean. And you ask them, how long have you believed in God? My whole life, but you keep using? So your version of God is not working. What if we do this? What if a power greater than you that can restore your sanity is me? Because if you're about to go use, and you ask me, I'm going to tell you not to do that. But if you look up into the sky and you say, God, take this pipe out of my hand, you're going to hide motherfucker. So a power greater than me is you. But what you're going to learn in step three, that the reason there's powers greater than you, it's because of God. You learn that in step three. But if you have a problem with this God thing, why don't you do this? Why don't you use God as the action and work in spiritual principles? Instead of thinking God is like some religious icon that has never worked for you, why don't you use God as an action, as a verb? God is what you do. Don't be one of the people that thinks God is a noun while they talk bad about other people. Step four, I learned that I'm messed up. And I'm messed up because of all my resentments. Step four, I learned that I'm messed up because of my resentments. I've been walking around a victim my whole life, finding excuses to always pick up, right? Step four, I wrote down my resentments. I figured out, right, that I was angry at my mom because she left me when I was 9 years old. I was angry at myself because I used to think I was a homosexual because I got molested when I was 6. I was angry at my father and my grandmother. And all this anger made me a victim. And it always gave me an excuse to pick up. So when I realized all these resentments that I had and I put it down on paper, and then in step 5, I started figuring out my part. The perpetuating the pain, hurting others, because hurt people hurt people. And I started to realize that the reason why I'm a womanizer, it's because I think I'm a homosexual. I need a woman for validation. Because I want to feel like I'm a man. You understand? I came into recovery and I was a racist. This might fuck with a couple of you too. I thought I was a racist. I judged you based off of the color of your skin. I did it in solitary confinement. Why? Because I used to fight blacks, whites, and Puerto Ricans. But why, David? Because I'm holding the resentment that I used to get bullied a lot. So it wasn't that I was a racist, I was afraid. And the way I acted out on that fear, so my response to the trauma was fighting you. Get it? But then in step 6, check this out. All the character defects that are a result of my resentments, all of those character defects, they go on paper. And this is one of the blessings, man, that we have. We are superheroes. We are angels. And before you leave here, you need to understand you are an angel. You have the biggest blessing that most human beings have, man. You get the privilege of knowing yourself. You get the privilege of learning how to tell the truth. You get the privilege, right, of practicing spiritual principles on a daily basis. And when you fall short in step 10, you get an opportunity to make it right. You understand? And then in step 8, you start figuring out all these people you've hurt. So you don't gotta hide your face anymore. You understand? You get to figure out that even though that there's some people that you hurt, that they might not be alive. Like I did a robbery, and this chick was like, this little girl, she was like 13, and she was with her friend, and I snatched her chain and I ran. And for my whole life, I felt like a piece of garbage for doing that. And I don't even know who she is. And my sponsor said, well, why don't you make it right? Well, how do I make it right? I don't know who she is. Well, why don't you go to a middle school and do some volunteer work with some kids? Why don't you do that, David? And I did. I started going to middle schools teaching kids how to not hate each other. You understand? I made it right. I made I made the amends to my mom. How? I quit using. Guys, I made the amends to myself for just thinking I'm a homosexual thing. How? Stop being a womanizer. Hasn't been easy. You understand? I still have a lot of trauma that I still deal with. Guys, everybody here, we got trauma. You're always gonna have trauma. I still look at the dude and he has jewelry, I want to rob him. At 23 years clean. But you know what my sponsor said? With 30 years clean, he says, me too. But I've learned in recovery that my thoughts don't define me, my actions do. Guys, don't judge yourself. Please offer your thoughts. Your thoughts lie. Guys, whatever you're struggling with, it's your superpower. Think about that. Whatever you're struggling with, right, the purpose of it is to give it a purpose. That's the point. The point is, if you're going through some cancer right now, God forbid, don't use over it. Go out like a superhero. Use it to help people. If you lost a child, man, go help people that lose a child, man. Like, go to a cancer ward and help people, man. Leave a legacy. I believe, and I'm going to end with this one, I believe right there, as superheroes that have survived the fight, right? If you don't share it with others, you are really ungrateful. Because somebody saved you so that you can save somebody else. But if you don't do service, you'll never figure that out. Come on. Thank you for letting me share.